Welcome back to Behind the Windscreen, where what we're doing is we're trying to show you the entire gamut of junior tennis. We talk to coaches, we talk to parents, and every once in a while we get the opportunity to talk to a player about their journey. Today, we have a special guest, Mason Vaughan, who is one of the top juniors in the country in his age group. As a matter of fact, I think he's actually number one in his school class year at this point in time. Somebody I've known for a long time. I consider he and his whole family friends, though I've never coached him. But we're going to dig in today and find out a little bit about what his journey has been like to maybe help inform you on things that you could do with your kids to give them the best outcome. So, welcome, Mason.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. How you
I'm
doing?
excited. Good. Yeah, I just finished practice at ATA.
Ah.
So, yeah.
But you're no longer there. When I met you, I think it was almost 6 years ago, and you were
Yeah.
much smaller and younger, but feisty. You couldn't keep you away from the net at that point in time.
Yeah. No serve, no forehand. I would just hit it back in and run to the net. I probably had 80 net advances every single match.
So you've changed that, and you're no longer at ATA, but having been here and having a place to stay here, when you come to Austin, you come through ATA and work with a coach and train with some of the kids. So tell us about a little bit about what that looks like at this point in time.
Yeah, so I train full-time at Brookhaven Tennis Academy in Dallas, which is where we moved during COVID. But, we come down here every couple of weeks, and I'm lucky enough to get to train with Coach Ashley at ATA, and then Coach Newman and Coach Notice will let me jump in their practices every once in a while, and I have really good connection with all the boys and even the girls at ATA, so it's kind of like a second home when I'm in Austin, so I'm really lucky to have that.
When did you start playing tennis?
Basically since I could walk. My dad played, so he kind of got me into it, and just about every day he's asking me to play. So, yeah, since I was 3 probably.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
And you're how old now?
I'm 15, almost 16 in August.
Okay, and so you're playing in 16 and unders mostly?
Yeah, I kind of just mix it up. Try to find some good tournaments. I've played a lot of 18s recently, some ITFs, got some wild cards into pro tournaments. That was pretty cool. So I'm kind of all over the place, all over the map.
So that kind of looks like the last year has been a big jump, because I remember you sending me a text message after last summer at 14's clay courts where you won singles and doubles, right? So it sounds like 16's kind of was a leapfrog into 18's, maybe ITFs, but seeing that highest level of competition.
Yeah.
Right. And I think at the moment you are 11 in the country and 16 in unders.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
just outside the top 10 as a first year.
Mm-hmm.
And what's that journey been like?
It's been good. I think most of my points are from 18s actually in my 16s results. So, I don't really care about the rankings or anything. But it's just been good for me to get some really good matches, and I feel like in the past year I've, put on some pounds. I've been hitting the ball a lot bigger, and I think that's a testament from getting used to playing against very good players where if I give them a short ball, they're just going to put it away. And so I think that's some of the things that playing up has been helping me with. And obviously it's great to dip back in. Like I'm playing 16s clay courts next week, which will be good because maybe I can go out there and I'll have a little easier time returning some serves and I can get away with some more stuff. But overall, I think it's really helped my ball speed and competitiveness where I don't think I've won as many matches as I did the last summer. And this past year has been really good where I've won just about 65% of my matches probably.
That's like the ideal number. When I was spending time with players at the level that you're at now, the goal was always to hit 67%, win 2 out of every 3 matches. So that you're getting some realistic sense of, well, what's it like against players who are better and then able to get your confidence to play some people that are maybe not quite as good, but kind of balancing act between levels.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, you gotta really have some confidence to be able to lose like every week, and that was one of the toughest things in the past year has been learning to lose and learning to lose well. And I think I've really learned a lot where, even if I lose, as long as I can see progress and feel progress, it still feels like a win.
Are you a pretty volatile person on court? Like, do you wear your emotions on your sleeve, or are you kind of play it a little closer to the vest?
I've been working on keeping my emotions more intact, trying to conserve some energy for later on in the fifth, sixth day of the tournaments. But definitely when it gets close, I'll get a little nervous, and that's when I tend to have some more emotions on the court. I've been pretty good at keeping my negative emotions within myself, but I'll definitely get pretty loud if I win a big point here and then or have a good comeback.
I think you hit on a key thing right there of having something left in the tank for the latter parts of the tournament. I think that there's a place where everybody's good at whatever your starting place is. It's all above the line. And then as time goes on and you wear down both physically and emotionally, some people drop below that threshold and their emotions get the best of them, or they have no emotional rent left to pay.
Yeah.
Have you found that at times that you might run out of energy, and how is being better and therefore reaching the sharp end of the tournament? Do you know what I mean by sharp end?
Yeah.
Kind of draw being wide and getting to a point.
Yeah.
So playing longer in the tournament, do you find that you need more, where maybe if you're winning a match or a couple matches, you're out pretty early and like there's plenty for that, but needing more as it goes on?
Yeah, I mean, in response to that, I'd say I've learned the hard way. At nationals, I've probably played, 6 to 8 nationals where I was rah 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 every single point, and by the fourth match, I was just gassed. Like everything, when I get gassed, negative emotions come, nothing good happens. And then the past couple nationals that I've played, like you said, I've kind of come in with some more confidence. Not that I could win, but that I can go deep. And so I've been keeping my emotions more intact. And then once you get to the quarters, round of 16 on, every player you play is going to could win the tournament. So then from there, it's more of a coin flip. But if you conserve your energy well, it really comes down to who's more intense, who's got more energy in their footwork and on that day. So that's I've learned to really keep my emotions intact in that regard.
So not to reveal any secrets, but do you work on those things in isolation, or do you have a specific program that you work on for the mental toughness part of it?
Yeah, I have a coach at Brookhaven. Her name is Coach Tracy, and she's helped me in the past year so much. Just really work on my mental game. And I mean, we've gone to go on multiple tournaments, and I mean, we've worked on stuff like focus, staying in the present, and then, but a main part of the process has been to really keep my energy a little lower, which we've both learned. And so she's helped me with a couple of techniques on how to do that and how to keep my breathing and how to be loose and stuff like that.
Breathing. So how does breathing affect mental?
Or like sometimes when I get tight, I stop grunting and I stop thinking clearly. So we've worked on some breathing techniques, like it's called box breathing, where you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4, and keep repeating that. And it'll calm your nerves. And then obviously I have notes in my journal where I have a couple notes on what I want to do in the match, what I'm looking to accomplish. So that combination of my journal, breathing, is what I've figured to help me keep loose and relaxed.
Here's probably a good place to ask you, what's your big, hairy, audacious tennis goal? What do you hope for overall?
I mean, my goal is to go pro, so we're working towards that. I want to go to play college at University of Texas if I can. Obviously, that'll probably change by the time I get in the recruiting process, but the goal is to go to college, and then I want to go pro after if I can.
Yeah. I think probably you have a sense of what is possible better now than you did when you were 11, right?
Yeah.
I think 11-year-olds, everybody says, I want to be a pro, I want to be number one in the world.
Hmm.
But now, having gone through it and watched some players who are maybe older than you are, and you probably have a better sense of what that path would look like and where you are
Yeah.
in that journey. So, have you mapped out what those next few years would look like?
Yeah, I mean, I guess everyone when they were 11 wants to be like Alcaraz and Coco being number one when they're 15 and 16, but it's not realistic. But my goal is definitely to be the goal is to be out of futures by the time I get to go to college. So I think I have 4 more years about. So when I'm 17, 18, hopefully I can be doing well in the future circuit so I can rack up some points to get out of the futures and into the challengers out of college.
Okay, so I think that's a good place that maybe you can help some parents and juniors who aren't where you are yet with that process. So, can you lay out what that person looks like, and do you know anybody who's gone that route? So, what does it look like? You said being out of futures and playing challengers, right? Is there a ranking that's associated with that? Is junior ranking more important? So ITF ranking, what does that kind of look like? Junior stuff versus pro stuff.
I mean, I think it's a mix of both. I mean, I know if you get to the top 100 in juniors of ITF, you get automatic entry into some 25Ks. So I think next year that might be one of the goals is to get that ITF ranking up a little bit. So hopefully I can play the slams and stuff. But if that doesn't work, no worries. But I think the goal would be 300, 350 pro rank by the time I enter college. But I mean, it's tough. Have to go on the road for a while. And we don't want to my coach and I's goal is not to play too many tournaments so that I run out of gas because realistically I'm going to have to be on the road 10 to 12 years just in a suitcase week to week, 40 weeks out of the year, which is pretty brutal.
If you had to say where you are versus where you'd like to be, so let's say where you want to be right now, if you had your ideal goal would be a 5 on a scale of 1 to 5, where do you think you are?
I mean, I would say I'm 4. I mean, I've accomplished a lot of things that when I was 12, I was dreaming about.
Okay.
Like winning some nationals, but I mean, there's always improvement. There's always people better than me, so yeah.
Have you traveled much out of the country yet?
No, I haven't. I played 3 tournaments in January. My mom and grandma, we went on a little vacation and played some tournaments in New Zealand, which was really cool. Yeah, it was pretty far.
It's actually on my bucket list of places to go just to see.
Yeah, it's amazing. It was beautiful. But yeah, I haven't played much outside of the country, but I think next year is a good goal too. Next year I'll mix them up out of the country.
Okay, so the ones that you played in New Zealand, those were junior ITFs?
Yeah, they were junior J100, J100, and J60.
Okay. What have you found to be the difference in the level of play when you're traveling internationally versus, when you're playing here, particularly, I guess maybe when you get into 18s, you're playing a lot of the same kids. The ITFs in the U.S. are just elite level U.S. tournaments almost.
I mean, the level is similar. I'd say, I mean, it's honestly in people's heads. They have the best juniors right now. But one of the best things that I learned when I was in New Zealand was actually the difference in play of countries. I played kids from Japan, kids from Australia, kids from New Zealand, Taiwan, and then obviously US. And it was interesting to see how each country, obviously every player was different, but had a similar game in the sense that I was the outlier in the US kids, but all the other kind of kids were known as obnoxious and big hitters, which they were also very tall. So, but then the Japanese players were super nice. They would give 10 calls that were out, and they would just play them because didn't want to hook. And they all had very good backhands, really good net game, but not a great forehand. And then it was interesting to see Australia, like all the Australians, big serve, big forehand, and it was pretty similar across the board. And then all the Taiwan players were kind of grinders, so it was interesting to see how each country played a little different, and everyone played pretty similar from their country.
So you've noticed styles. Did you pick that up on your own, or did somebody kind of point it out to you and you had an oh wow moment? That actually is what's going on. Or how did you come to that assessment of different countries?
Yeah, I mean, I picked that up on my own. Nobody told me, but I mean, I've seen it on TV before and with other players, so I kind of knew going in what it was going to be like. I was just surprised to see that.
It's interesting. I had someone tell me, I guess maybe a decade ago now, that a German coach had told them they had a secret to beating players from the UK. That's something that happens with players from the UK. As soon as they're about to get attacked, as they're getting attacked, they take one step back, which is kind of a good defensive posture, you'd think. But the German coaches, knowing that, said hit angles there as opposed to the traditional approach line and close in.
Yeah.
That the angle was open because the players were moving backwards in that situation. And so they said that was the UK across the board.
Wow.
And so they let, what this coach was from the UK that told me this, but, let him in on the secret of here's what we know about your players, which is why we get the results that we get.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So do you think that gives you a starting place, right? So you probably now play a lot of kids that you've played your whole life. But you start traveling and you've never seen these people before. So did you think having that understanding of how generally players, so you said you're the aberration for the U.S., but if you were playing a U.S. kid, you have a place to start because you think, well, the kids have big forehands, big serves, they like to be aggressive, they're volatile emotionally, whatever that happens to be.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, one of the things now with social media, you can basically find how anyone plays online. But, I mean, as a starting point going into a match, if you've never seen the person before, I mean, I usually take it with a grain of salt of how they're going to play, but you can find a lot out in the warm-up, and if you know, okay, I'm playing a Japan player, let's see how they volley, how their backhand is, how their forehand is. Do they run around their forehand and hit the backhand? Like, there's a lot of stuff that you can find out before you even start the match.
Okay, so you've already shown in this little talk right now that your understanding of this process is very different than somebody playing local tournaments. I've talked to so many kids in my life, and only a very few have come with an understanding of how to approach an opponent, how to approach the process of match play. Is that something that you practice, like that you go to practice and you, how do I approach warm up and how do I use that?
Yeah, one of my favorite coaches, Coach Steve Smith, taught me from when I was like 8 years old until I was 10 on visits, and he was actually who taught me how to win the warm up. He would, on the first ball, one of the first balls in the warm up, you can go right through the middle. Let's look if they run around their backhand and hit a forehand. Do they run around their forehand and hit a backhand? You can tell a lot by that. Then you can dip a low one at their backhand volley, see how they volley, and then I mean, realistically, if you really want to win the warm up, you can try to focus on yourself, not focus on their warm up. You gotta focus on your own warm up. Like, there's many ways that I've been taught to win the warm up.
So the warm up is a probing experience where you're just kind of, without being disrespectful, of hitting balls in the corners and seeing how do they move, what happens if the ball has a little more shape on it, up or down, and how you win the warm up is by probing, but at the same time maybe not pissing the other person off and
Yeah.
making them think what a jerk this kid is, like
Yeah.
not even giving me a ball to hit.
Exactly. I mean, you got to play fair, but there's definitely things you can do to find out a game plan going into the first game of the match.
Okay. So is that part of the game plan? And when you approach a match, do you have a written game plan, or is it something in your head, or?
That for me isn't a game plan. I have, like I said earlier, I have a couple notes. I'll write 3 to 4 notes. For example, let's just say I write down racket speed, first serves in play, and rip to the corners when I get a short ball. Like that would be something. I don't really have a game plan going in unless I know the player very well.
So how does it change when you know the player, or if you've had a coach scout that match? How would
Yeah.
that change?
I mean, when I know the player, usually I've played them a couple times. Played a bunch of guys from ATA throughout my life, so I don't. I usually know what I'm gonna expect going into those matches. There's a couple guys, everyone from Texas, just about. I know what I'm gonna, have to do to win the match and where I'm gonna have to go. And then obviously it helps when I have a coach who can scout, but sometimes it's matchup related. Like, I mean, I've had my dad come up and tell me that this guy's the biggest serve and biggest forehand in the world, when in reality he had the worst serve and worst forehand in the world. So I have to take that with a grain of salt until I start the match, but it's a good starting point.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You say it with a smile, right? So there are a lot of kids at a very early age where parents know nothing. That becomes the mantra of "Don't talk to me. You don't know what you're talking about," when they very well may know a lot.
Yeah.
Having known you and your parents and your brothers for a long time, you guys have a really good relationship, and I believe your dad is one of the better people that I've ever run across, of if there's a coach around, allowing the coach to do their thing, yet he will sit and chart a match. Like, I remember just telling a little tale. I sat sideline when you were here at ATA and Coach Ashley wasn't there, but at the Little Mo 12 and under finals.
Yeah.
Right. And so I believe you were getting ready to split sets, and all of a sudden my phone buzzes, and here's this, maybe not a spreadsheet, but an app that your dad was using charting things, that he sent to me. Instead of him feeling like he needed to get in, he was sending me, as the coach of the moment, information that could help me talk to you when you split sets.
Yeah. We thought that was the biggest tournament I thought that was the biggest tournament of my life when I was 12. But yeah, my dad does a great job, and my mom too, of letting the coach. And then my dad, honestly, I would trust more than some of my coaches. My dad he'll keep his mouth quiet though, and he'll tell me, after the match, some things maybe he thought, but my dad's there's only a couple who really don't interfere. Because I've seen some parents who interfere with their kids' tennis every single day and it burns them out. So as my dad is a former player, kind of knows how to navigate through that.
Back to pre-match scouting and things. So my experience, having coached people that were trying to play pro tennis, so that was very different than junior tennis. Junior tennis, I'd be at a tournament and I'd have a bunch of kids that I had responsibility for generally. Once I was coaching just a single person and maybe taking them to a higher level tournament that all the kids in the program weren't qualifying for, I remember it being, I would scout other matches, so a future opponent, and I would come up with a list of things to do. And how we would approach it was, my player would go play their match that day, and then after that match, we would go back out in the evening to work on maybe things that needed a little bit shoring up. But we would also then use that opportunity to implement the next day's plan.
Yeah.
Right? So that they could then have it in their mind and then let it settle in to long-term memory overnight, and then go back the next morning and warm up and reinforce maybe those couple of shots that you would need specifically.
Yeah.
And I kind of stole that from Michael Chang. Michael Chang's brother Carl was his coach, and that was something that they would do. They would put in the plan the night before and then go back the day of the match. And warm up wasn't so much hitting all of the shots. Warm up was, yeah, make sure you're loose, but here are the couple of key things that you need to be aware of. You need to be looking for, I guess maybe if I were playing Carlos Alcaraz, be trying to figure out, is he actually going to rip this forehand, which hard to deal with, versus is he going to drop? And then maybe that's why his drop shot's so effective, because you also do have to guard against the fact that he's going to do what you said. I'm going to take the short ball, rip it in a corner someplace, and move in. Have you experienced anything where you kind of had a plan, or maybe it's even a plan for somebody you're gonna easily get to the quarters, and who's kind of in your quarter, and so you're working on something that needs to be good 3 days from now?
Yeah, that's one thing that's been a big focus over the years, and that's one of the advantages to having a coach or a parent who can play, is going back out on the court after your matches. Especially at the L1s where you only have one match a day. If you go in the afternoon where there's no matches, and you'll see all the top guys. Those are all the guys who are going to win the tournament. They're out there every day for 30 minutes as a tune-up, just working on a couple things. And like you said, if they know who they're playing, they are definitely working on something. Like I've had multiple times where, I'm playing someone I know has a weaker forehand, or let's just say a weaker forehand, and I'll, my dad or my coach will feed me balls, and I'll rip some to the forehand, come in, put away a volley. And that'll help me. And then I'll go home right before I go to sleep. I'll be envisioning it in my mind, go out to warm up like you were saying with that intent, and go out to the match, and it feels like butter. So yeah, I mean, all the top players are doing it. All the pros, all the juniors, they're out there after every match doing it for just 30 minutes. And it's not taxing at all.
That is so mature and not something that I see in 15-year-olds. Yet you're somebody who isn't aloof. You have lots of friends. See you at a tournament, you're always talking to somebody's always talking to you. But that's the kind of mindset that I often see when they have a parent who's overbearing and they finish their match and the parent is scooping them back to the hotel, and not allowing them to enjoy the experience. Like, how much are you enjoying junior tennis versus this is a grind that I have to get through to get to where I want to be?
Yeah. No, it's my favorite. I mean, before tournaments, sometimes I'm shaking. I'm so excited because I get to see all my best friends because we're all around the country. I get to see them. And, I mean, yeah, sure, I go on a hit, but all my friends are out there hitting too. And then I get to go, I'll go eat with them, then I'll go hang out. I mean, and then it's different, though. I have my dad he'll tell me, 2 times. I mean, sometimes he just tell me more, but, hey, do you want to go out and hit? Do you want to go out and hit? Which is different than if you have a super intense parent who's like, oh, let's go hit now. And that's a little different, where some days I'm not feeling it. Okay, we'll rest, but it's good to have parents that, intense but know when to stop, compared to parents who are super intense and burn their kid out. And that way, I can have fun while still focusing on the tournament.
Question. Oh, lots of questions here, right? But which has a stronger emotion attached to it? Winning a really close match, so 7-5 in the third, losing a really close match, 7-5 in the third, blowing somebody out 2-1, losing to somebody 0-0.
Winning a match 7-5 in the third.
That's the strongest emotion for you?
Yeah. I mean, if I'm losing a match, I'll definitely... Winning and losing at 7-5 in the third's pretty similar, because if I lose, I'll be thinking about it and thinking about what I could have done a little better for the rest of the day. But if I win, I just I get a hug from my dad, either way I'll get a hug, but, I'll be so excited. So I'd say there's more emotion from winning than losing, because losing, reset for a couple hours, and then I gotta forget about it.
Okay, so at the highest level of tournament, is that the same for you?
Yeah, that's something I've been working on. Again, like when I was 11 and 12, I'd lose a match. Coach Ashley's with me at National Hardcourts, and I lost a match, and I ran away from her for an hour and a half crying. So, and then now as I've gotten older, I realized that's embarrassing. And now if I lose a match, like, yeah, I'm pissed, but I don't show anyone. I try to keep a happy face on and just, there's other stuff than tennis, so I try to think about other stuff. And don't even get sad anymore if I lose, because I know I have bigger goals than the match that I probably just played.
That's interesting. And I'm wondering if it's where you are age-wise or if it's a personality thing. I've heard very successful Grand Slam winning pros saying losing hurts so much more than winning feels good, that when you win, there's always, I got to get ready for the next tournament. There's no time to think about it. When you lose, it can throw you in a spiral that lasts for months.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're able to kind of treat both of those the same, I don't know who was Rudyard Kipling, that talks about imposters and treating them the same, that the emotions are really just temporary and you get the choice of how you're going to respond to them.
Yeah.
Can you tell me the win that felt the biggest to you? So if you think right now.
Yeah. I've had some pretty big wins, but I would probably say the biggest win for me, personally, was probably winning clay courts, because I was playing one of my best friends, Sebastian Godoy, and we split every single time we play. But I've always been wanting to win a gold ball, and that was my first singles gold ball that I won. So that kind of felt like I did one of my goals, and so that was a really good feeling.
Okay, you can probably guess my next question. What's the loss that comes to mind as hurting the most?
I mean, I don't know the answer to that question right now. I've had some tough losses, but none of them have mattered too much after a day. I haven't lost like any big finals that I can think of. So,
Okay. Are losses learning opportunities?
for sure. Every time I lose, I go back on the court the next week or whenever I'm playing. I'm like, okay, I gotta get my backhand better. Gotta work on my serve. Gotta get some more free points. Like, it gives me some motivation to get back out there and get better. I almost want to go hit for an hour after.
So are you able to then tie training to specific situations which happened in matches? If remember in the semis against little Johnny, or maybe not so little anymore now that you're in the 16s, but against Johnny Abrams, that at 5-4 in the third, this happened.
Yeah.
Does that enable you to focus training a little bit more on here's why I need to work on this specifically, as opposed to we're just working on my slice approach or whatever it happens to be?
If what you're saying is like, if I think about this one point, no, like, because I don't believe that a match is won or lost on one point. But usually when I lose matches, I can see a theme of one of the biggest themes for me in the past year, even longer, has just been I need to get a bigger serve and better first ball. So, like, one of the biggest focuses in training is working on how can I improve my technique? How can I get in the gym more? How can I put on more weight to gain a bigger serve and then take control after the first ball, so I don't have to work as hard on the first serve? That's one of the themes that cost me to lose some matches, but it's getting better week by week. So, if that's answer.
You think that's a physical thing, a technical thing, or a mental thing?
It was physical. I wasn't very strong. I've gotten stronger, gained more weight, but slightly technical, but I would say mostly physical.
Okay. I ask because I have a recurring thing that I've said for a couple decades now of what's the first thing that's required to hit a good serve or to hit a hard serve or whatever it is? And the answer to that is you have to try to hit a hard
Yeah.
serve, right? So if you're falling back on the crutch of kicking it in or using more spin in any way, that the first thing there is you got to actually be trying to
Yeah.
hit like Pecci paracord.
Yeah. Talk about a big serve.
Yeah, I think he set the record at Wimbledon for second serve speed yesterday, or maybe it was for
I think it
like
was
he hit 153,
156. Yeah.
156.
Yeah.
I watched that match at 5 o'clock this morning, 4 o'clock this morning,
Yeah.
and I don't know how it's going to come out. Right, they had to stop it after four
Yeah.
sets.
They're playing right now, I think.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, I don't know who won though.
We probably should have put it on that television.
Yeah.
We could have watched it. Wow,
I mean, I don't
and we
think
could have
there's gonna be a
commented
break,
on it.
So
So, is having a big serve important to your game style?
I mean, yes. I mean, it's pretty obvious. My serve's never gonna be pericards, which I don't know if anyone's will ever be. But my goal with my serve is kind of have a serve similar to Rafa. I mean, you could even say Novak, not technique wise or anything, just where I can get some free points, like 1 or 2 free points a game, and then get on ahead of every single serve. Because my ground strokes right now are good enough where I can beat a lot of players from the back. But if I can get ahead, especially on the first ball instead of being neutral, like that would help a lot, especially down the road.
That says a lot about your progression going from hit a backhand and get to the net to I can beat a lot of players off the ground at this point in time. I'm going to throw at you something that I heard Andy Roddick say maybe 15 years ago. Tell me your thoughts. He said, junior tennis is about how much can I do with the ball. Pro tennis is about how much do I need to do with the ball. What does that mean to you?
I mean, that's true. I mean, you see a lot of juniors, like I was saying with the theme of the USA kids. I mean, they're just try to hit as big as they can without a brain. But then once I see all the top pros play, it's so fun to watch where it almost looks like Novak on TV from the angle that they play it on. It doesn't even look like he's hitting the ball, but you see how well he uses the court. He uses the dimensions instead of hit through it every single ball. I mean, he's like 38 years old and he's still beating 23-year-olds by just like targets and using the court really well.
So is that, well, I guess I look at maybe Alcaraz now and certainly Federer. I think Federer struggled early in his career because he could do so much and he felt like he needed to do everything every match. And then somebody got a hold of him and said, no, this match just do A, B, L, and Q. And then next match you can use C, D, and W.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to learn when you're talented and you have so much and you want to show all of the skills that you have. And maybe some of them don't work against this opponent, but they would work against somebody else.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, and I'm not asking you to tell me like the style or anything, but that your game matches up style-wise better against some players than another?
Yeah, I mean, I've worked on my tools and my, some of my skills where to the point where I don't feel like there's some guys who I will just lose to every time. But I mean, yeah, if I'm playing different styles, then I definitely feel better about playing one guy than another. But going back to, I played a match this weekend, which you got to watch. I was just trying to hit big, big, big. Where really my game style is more of like, use the court, make a lot of balls, and attack when I can, instead of just hit through it, like you were saying.
So that was an 18s L2. Did you feel like at that level, maybe the players are a little more mature and you felt like you needed to come out of your shoes a little bit more to keep up at that level? Or were you thinking about, well, I'm going to need that at the quarters of the L1 clay courts that you're getting ready to go to at the end of this week? Or like, what was that impetus for trying to hit a little bit bigger than what you normally did rather than use same old, same old?
Well, I've been working on hitting the ball bigger, especially in practice, and my goal for that match was before the match in my brain was to go out there and try to, kind of blow a guy off the court with my serve and forehand, which I can do, but I went out and I wasn't timing it, and I should have taken a step back. And that guy was good enough to the point where if I would just miss every third ball, he's just gonna make it. Where realistically, against some of the 18-year-olds who are physically, he was way bigger than me, stronger, and he can handle my pace. I should have probably relaxed, settled down a little bit, and slow down the pace. So not slow down the racket speed, but add some more spin, make some more balls, and use the court better.
So was that a lesson learned?
Yeah.
Or
I mean, I was mad that I lost, but I was still happy that I went out there for the two matches that I played. I was still happy that I went out and played the way I did. I mean, looking back, I probably should have played smarter, but I mean, I still saw improvement, even though I didn't play my best.
looking towards college, do you like singles or doubles more?
I love both. I mean, doubles. I love playing doubles. I love the game. I've learned how to play it pretty well, but I love the team aspect, but I also hate the team aspect sometimes. That's why I love singles, because I like when it's all on my racket. And, it's fun to compete by myself, and then it's fun to go on the doubles court and play with my best friend and play some good doubles. So I don't actually have a preference. I would play either.
When I was a coach not too long ago, but going to L1s and even like the Texas Slam, so the sectional qualifier, to me, doubles was always the additional thing. Like singles was where the pressure was. Doubles got played at the end of the day. Sometimes I didn't even watch it. Like I didn't even so much care. It was a relief valve for the player to get out there with a buddy and get that feeling of it's just fun to be out here. Like you get those moments. I actually had someone who I coached who was, I guess he was one in the country most of the years when he was a second year. Just so happened that when he was a first year, players that were a year ahead included the Bryan brothers. So it was pretty tough to be at the top. But he and his partner had a thing where they didn't count pegs, they counted assists. So if you helped set it up so I could peg somebody, then you got the credit for it, for being the for having the assist rather than getting the peg. But that was one of the ways that doubles was just fun. And they were successful doing it. But thinking about team and what will it be like? Because I think college tennis is all about team. And how do you find joy when you played poorly but the team wins? And how do you temper those emotions when you've had the match of your life and the team got blown out 5-2?
I mean, going back to doubles, first off, I mean, it's important. Like, that's how you're going to get on college teams. That's how you can make a living on the pro tour. But one of the things that doubles teaches and playing on a college team is that you can never blame your partner. If your partner misses a sitter overhead, you just ought to go over, give them a high five, be like, oh, all good, next one right here. And, I mean, I've experienced it in some team tournaments, but the best feelings is when you clinch the match for your team, or even if you lose the match and your team wins, like the national championship, everyone's huddling that person. Like, it's one of the greatest experiences in tennis. So, I mean, I think it's great, the team aspect, and I mean, I think singles guys on the pro tour should play it more. I mean, you could work on your net game and going forward, and then you get to have fun with your friend, and you get to make, an extra $20,000 at least.
Yeah, I wonder if $20,000 means something when that's first round losers prize money at a Grand Slam.
Yeah,
right.
I know. It's crazy.
So how do you get to that place? Can you tell me about mistakes that you made early in your career, in your journey? So when you were 11, 12 years old, are there some things that as you look back, you would have done differently? And I ask that because you have, twin brothers who are younger.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is really serious with his tennis right now. So, kind of coming up behind you and
Yeah.
looking to Mason, what things would you, say that you would hope that Brooks doesn't do that maybe you did? Or have you been
Yeah.
perfect?
No. One of the things that I've actually been working on, like even in the past year, which I've gotten a lot better at, but that I've been trying to guide Brooks out of, and that I hope he doesn't go towards, is obsessing over rankings. Uh, I mean, I was playing it like a tournament every weekend, and after every match in 12s at like an L5 or L4, I would check the calculator to see what my ranking would go up to. Which it really, the rankings are dumb. You just have to get it high enough where you can get in the nationals. But I mean, I just don't want Brooks to, go into every tournament think, okay, if I win this match, I get 36 points. So I'm not going to play how I want to play in the future to get the 36 points. Like, at the end of the day, I don't even care I don't even know what my 12s ranking was basically anymore. So it does not matter. Even in the USTA ranking doesn't even matter in 16s. Like, it's not a big deal at all. So I just want to make sure that he doesn't obsess over his UTR and everything, until he's maybe going into college if he has to.
UTR is a measurement by which a lot of college coaches use to measure somebody in Austin, Texas versus somebody in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Right, because you can't watch them play head to head because
Yeah.
they never do. So UTR becomes that standardized measurement of skill.
Yeah.
Do you think that we would be better if there was different rankings? And I asked that, and when I was probably 15 years ago, maybe 20. Oh no, I was in Atlanta, so this is probably 20 plus years ago. There was a young man from Germany who trained with us, and he said at that point in time, Germany had a ranking program whereby Boris Becker was number one, right? He was number one in the world at that point in time. Michael Steek was number two. And this player who was in the 16s, I don't remember what he said his number was, but it was like 384 or something, right? With all of the players on the same scale. That kept him from thinking, geez, I'm number two in Germany in the 16 and unders. I'm number 386 or whatever that number was, which says there's still a big mountain left to climb.
Yeah.
And he felt like that was a little more realistic for him in terms of keeping him level-headed and all of those things. What do you think about
No,
that?
that's pretty cool. I mean, USTA ranking, it's not accurate. I mean, some of the top players aren't even ranked number one in USTA. But I think UTR is great, like, in the sense that you can go and play. They have some PTTs now, which are $25,000 tournaments, where you get 4 guaranteed matches against guys like above a whatever 11.5, 12 UTR. So I think it's good because you can see what your opponent's level is going into the match and stuff, and you can make sure that you're getting some good matches at tournaments that you sign up for. And I think it's needed to balance the level of the tournaments. But I'm just saying, like, it's just good if you don't obsess over it in every match and every day.
I'm really just looking to hear what you think. You're the one who's in it. You know how it makes you feel. It's been a long time since I played a competitive match, so I can't even imagine what that feels like. Is there anything you can think of that you would like to impart to others? Maybe a parent or another kid or even a coach, like some things that, geez, I don't ever want to be around another coach who did this, or I had a coach who does this and it absolutely drives me in a positive direction. Anything that you can think of that you'd like to share?
I mean, I would say find a coach who really cares about you, about your improvement, not about the money. And I mean, make sure that you're working hard and stuff and keeping your head down, and the results will come. I mean,
Okay. So, coach that cares is more important than coach who's been there.
I mean, I think you need a mix of both. You know, you need to have a coach who's had some experience coaching before and or has been a great player. My coach, Coach Dave, has been coaching for like 40 years or something. So I know he has the experience, and then he cares so much about every player, not just me. But I've been lucky to stay with him, like live with him for a year. So, I mean, I know that he cares about me, and I know that he cares about my improvement, and he shows it every single day. And I try to show that I care about my improvement every single day as well.
You sound like James Blake. And when I say you sound like James Blake, there was a time when James was 20 in the world and kind of stuck there. And he had had the same coach since he was 11, a guy by the name of Brian Barker. And people were saying, you need a new coach. And James came out in a public interview and said, my coach is as good as any coach, knows as much as any coach. If I'm not getting there, that's on me, not on him. And he stuck with him.
Yeah.
And he got to number 4 in the world.
Yeah.
And so now instead of having the label of somebody that can only get player to the top 20, Brian Barker became player that can get somebody in at the top 5.
Yeah.
And that's because of mindset like the one that you just showed. So
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of tough. I feel like when you're on the tour and you're changing a coach every single year, like you're going to have to adjust to them for, 3 months until they really know you. Like if my eye is like a little left, Coach Dave will know. He'll know that. And then if my shoulders drop an inch, he'll know that my mood is off or something. Like it's just good to have a coach who knows you so well.
I think that's a great piece of information to leave with of don't be so quick to need to feel like you need to change something just because you had a bad tournament.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to say now because that's when what a lot of people are doing right now, right? The sectional qualifier type tournaments are all ending and the carousel of players and coaches is about to happen. Coaches are recruiting for who can we get in for the fall and players, well, not so much the players, but their parents are saying, oh, we didn't get to where we wanted to get, time to make a change. And I think that probably hurts more than it helps in a lot of cases.
Yeah, on the juniors, like, there's just guys in Texas who I see switch academies every 6 months, and those are usually, there's some exceptions, but those are usually the guys who you don't see at the O1s in the big tournaments. But, yeah. I was going to say something, but I forgot what I was going to say.
Sitting in this seat, that happens to me multiple times every time I sit down with somebody.
Yeah.
So no worries.
Oh, what I was going to say is, like, I've had plenty of bad tournaments. Like, I had a bad tournament just last weekend. I've had hundreds of them, but I've never once thought about changing coaches. Like, that's just, like, out of the picture for me.
That's an amazing statement that never did you think about. It's an external factor, a coach. That's an training environment that I need to change. And I think that shows with the fact that when you come to Austin, you still work with Ashley while you moved to change training environments and things. It wasn't anything negative to what happened here.
Yeah,
I think yesterday or day before, I guess it was yesterday, Monday, I came to ATA for something and there's your younger brother on the court with Coach Ashley. That relationship remains solid and one that you believe in.
For sure.
And I think that's a great attitude to have. I wish more junior players had that attitude. And the fact that you're sitting here, I've never been your coach. I don't think I've ever been on the court, maybe some group situations
not
at
really,
ATA
though.
Academy, but I've
Not
never,
really.
ever been on the court with you yet. Here we are. You sent me a text when you won 14 clay singles and doubles last year. Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, backhand down the line wins gold balls, like you always said.
And the fact that that came to mind, and not only that that came to mind, but the fact that you thought enough of our relationship that you wanted me to know that something that I had shared, maybe offhandedly, rung deeply with you,
Yeah.
and you were still thinking about that.
I remember 2 times you said that. I remember after that random L1 at ATA. Remember that was weird, that tournament. And then you sat me down at ATA-CP and we talked for a little bit. And that's where you said, yeah, you'll watch these best guys, backhand down the line, you'll notice win gold balls. You said that. And then also remember on court 7, we're in a group sesh. I don't remember who was there, but we were having Fordo court and you put up the poles and the rope that you'd have to hit over. And then you brought everyone in and you said the same thing. So, yeah, I don't know why it stuck with me. Just so every national, I'd think about that.
You don't ever know what's going to stick with a player. So I think the important thing for coaches is to be mindful of your words all the time, because when you develop that relationship with somebody who really cares, what might seem like a random thing might stick with somebody for a long time. I had a player by the name of Natalie Frazier, who's now married to Jermaine Jenkins, who's USTA national coach.
I know.
Huh?
I know Jermaine.
Yeah. So his wife, I was her coach when she was in juniors. I asked her for a recommendation when she graduated from University of Georgia, and in her recommendation, she talked about something I said to her when I believe she was 8 years old. In that we were practicing one day and she didn't run for a ball that was a little bit out. And I said to her, Natalie, there's going to be other balls just like that you're going to get an opportunity to chase, but that one's never going to come again. That opportunity was gone. And she said that she had a chance to play in the Pan Am Games after graduating from Georgia. And she also had an internship with a big accounting firm and she was trying to figure out which to do. And she thought back to that time when she was preteen, and that opportunities aren't going to come again if you don't take advantage of that opportunity in that moment. Well, I'd said that exact same thing 50 times to 20 different players, and it probably didn't stick with any of them.
Yeah.
And so when she said that to me, I was like, what made you, how did that stick with you? And you don't know. And I think that people that are impacting young lives need to be aware that everything that they say may impact someone. And I think you're in a position for you to also know that things that you say to young players are going to impact them a lot. Looking at Mason Vaughan said that, to a lot of younger kids, you are on a pedestal. And I love the fact that you are so mature as a young person, that I think you do that naturally. I guess just kudos to you. That was a long way of saying kudos to you.
Thank you.
Anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I don't think so. I think that's all.
Well, this was fun. I think this is the longest that I've got to sit down and talk to. It might be ever. I mean, I don't know how long we've been doing this, for about an hour, but I'm impressed.
Thank you.
I'm impressed.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Thank you.